Spencer Rattler discusses the NFL experience and NFL goals. Ladies and gentlemen, this is with Sports Grid. Live from Radio Row. I was on Radio Row, the face of the franchise. If you want to see behind the scenes of my experience on Radio Row, link in the description, videos on the channel. Super cool situation. So, now this is interesting because up until now, we've pretty much exclusively saw Spencer Rattler in interviews that were very Saints oriented. It was very much like from the Saints or from New Orleans football or from, the home base. So obviously he's going to have a different demeanor and different answers and be more professional or whatever. Not to say that he's not going to be in this video, but when you're at a different group, a different entity, you can kind of let your hair down a little bit. And so it'd be interesting to hear his answers to the question. So let's go ahead and watch and react along the way.
Here in New Orleans with one of New Orleans' own, at least the New Orleans Saints, quarterback Spencer Rattler. I'm Kevin Walsh. How do we feel here? Super Bowl in New Orleans. I know the dreams are one day to be playing in that game.
This is an all-time bad shot. Can we get a table? Can we get some plants in front of these two hombres? How about we turn the chairs to the side a little bit? Listen. I don't want to mince words here. I'm balls deep, basically. Let's just kind of shift some stuff around. Damn. This is insane. Framing is important.
Feel the buzz in town?
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's been fun being out here, getting to enjoy these great events and be here at Radio Row.
Yeah.
It's cool to see all the Super Bowl stuff around the city, and yeah, like you said, definitely a goal to be in this game one day.
True.
Now, you're in an interesting spot because head coach opening wise, right? You guys still have that vacancy.
Yep.
You guys hear everything. I know you do. Have you heard kind of some of that Kellen Moore stuff? Do you have any thoughts on the chances that he may become your head coach?
Tough question. So, this is some navigating some tight waters here for Spence.
Yeah, definitely heard everything. My mindset is kind of just show up and work, no matter what. I think it'd be great to have an offensive-minded guy like him. Obviously played the position as well, so I think that could benefit a lot, especially being a quarterback. But like I said, man, just keep my head down, keep working. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you can only control so much. But is that something that, for you, that would be encouraging, that would be ideal if the person brought in kind of has that offensive-first approach? That's where they're most familiar with, maybe?
I think everybody has, their own opinion on it. I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, you'll have to excuse if you see, like a shining light penetrating from this corner, the downtown studios, the sun is shining directly into the studio while I'm filming this. That ain't going to stop me, all right? Is it giving me potentially sunburns on my arm? Is it giving me potentially just high levels of radiation and UV rays shining down into my eyeballs? Yeah, probably. But we got to get videos out. We got to get content out. So that's what that is. If you are wondering, it's the sun shining and the clouds going over, and then the sun shining, clouds going over, or whatever. I'll give you a little. I'll show you. I'll give you a little look behind the curtain here. So if you're watching, the exposure, I can drop the exposure down to try and hide it. This is normal. This is pretty much like normal exposure, so you can see just how much it's shining. It's blasting. So if I go like here we're usually pretty good. This is like the darkest. This is super dark here. It'll probably save us from the sun, so I'll do it this way. See what happens. But yeah, now we're getting deep into the weeds here with the video production.
In the league, you see a lot of, offensive-minded head coaches and quarterbacks have success. So I think that'd be great, But again, I know I'm sounding like a record here on repeat, but keep my head down and work and kind of control what I can,
For sure.
So, but to answer your question, yeah, I think that'd be good to have an offensive-minded guy.
But for you, because you have the experience within college, right, of playing two different schools, so what is that adjustment like when you're going to go from one system to the next, and then how much does it help when you eventually get to find that continuity?
Yeah, I was in 3 different systems in college, and then, one so far here in the NFL. in my first year, and definitely going to be another one this upcoming season. So I think that's just part of the business, part of the job. I think all offenses are similar, similar verbiage, similar. They're all the same plays, just different verbiage, different terminologies for it. So obviously, you have to apply yourself to learn it quickly and adjust. But I think being through a couple systems so far has helped me.
Yeah.
So I was asked this on Radio Row. I was asked what I would do with Rattler and what I would do with Carr. Like, would I cut Carr? Would I move forward with Rattler? And what I said there is the same thing I'll say here, is that I want Spencer Rattler to succeed. I like Spencer Rattler. I like what he's made of. I like the intangibles. I like his game. I like what he does on the field. I like his arm talent, how he can move around a little bit. I like what he has going on. Some of the underlying metrics weren't great. And I know a lot of that is he's playing with, practice squad level players, makeshift offensive line, who the hell knows a receiver. I understand all that. Not to mention he's a 5th-round rookie. But I do pause and say, man, going into the season with Spencer Rattler as your quarterback, that is an enormous gamble if you're Kellen Moore. Because think about Kellen Moore, right? He's an offensive guy. He's going to want to come in and be good. He's going to want to come in and have a good offense. He's going to want to come in and show some things. Handing the keys to this to Spencer Rattler, you got to have some real belief in his ability. You got to have some real belief in what he can do as a player. You got to kind of look away from last year. Because, he had some bright spots. But if you look at the whole thing, if you look at the entire picture in totality, wasn't great. Was not great at all. Now, we can paint it a million different directions, a million different shades to make it sound cool. But I think we're a year away from really being confident and comfortable with Spencer being the de facto guy. If he is the de facto guy, okay, we'll see what happens. But I don't know if I'm there yet to just say, yeah, man, just let Rattler be the quarterback. Let Rattler be the starter. I think that's a bit of a stretch.
For you and kind of the way the season went, for the team, right? Fast start. You guys come out of the gates roaring, and unfortunately some injuries start to happen, but it gets you on the field early, and not every rookie gets that opportunity. Sometimes we hear these debates of, let's get guys out there, get reps. Let's let them sit and watch. You got to do a little bit of A, a little bit of B.
Yeah.
What felt more beneficial to you throughout the year?
I think playing, 100%. Being out there, getting the live reps, getting in, game time situations, going against. I think all the starts I had were versus playoff teams except one. So I think that's even better. Being out there, obviously we had a ton of injuries, a lot of different moving parts. Changed the head coach in the middle of the year. So it was an interesting first year, but loved the experiences and put some good stuff on tape. A lot of good stuff to learn from as well.
For you, were there? What were the aspects of it where you kind of felt the difference, right? Because by the time you were finishing up with South Carolina, you were rolling. You were playing great football, and the NFL. Everyone says it's a different level. So what were you kind of noticing as you were out there playing?
These are the best guys in the world. They get paid a lot for their position too. So it's not easy. I learned it's not easy to win in the NFL.
Sure.
You got to have all your pieces, and sometimes you got to go over X's and O's to make plays to set your team up. But it doesn't take one guy. It takes 11 on the field at a time, and we each got to do our job. And there's a lot of times we did that, a lot of times we didn't. And, a lot of great stuff to learn from, but enjoyed every experience.
Yeah. I'm curious for you, South Carolina is a team that I think kind of caught people by surprise this past year. Do you feel like that program is starting to really turn the corner when we talk about consistency, right? In college, it can be tough to find, but, with Lenore Sellers back another year, do you feel like now we're starting to see that continue to track upwards?
Most definitely. That's one of the things I'm most proud of is going to South Carolina and helping them get to where they want to be. Because I got so much respect and love for Coach Beamer and a lot of the staff there and players there and obviously the fans. I knew Lenore was going to be special when he was behind me last year, and knew when he would get his shot, he would do well. And he had some up and downs early, but kept working. And obviously you see he's super talented, and they're headed in the right direction.
When you, I know you're busy with your own stuff in the NFL, but I'm sure you heard some of the conversations around the college football playoff of conference versus conference. You played in multiple conferences.
I bet Spencer Rattler did not expect this. I bet he did not expect, like, hey, man, let's talk some college let's talk some college playoff realignment.
Yeah. Did you feel that the SEC was, with respect, maybe a little bit of a step above some of the stuff you were seeing when you were playing at OU?
No doubt. SEC, I think, is just different. I know the college football playoff might, SEC didn't have a great showing, I guess you can say, this year, other than Georgia, and I think that's about it, right?
Georgia loses their starting quarterback.
Exactly.
And then, I watched I'll be honest with you. So I'm a Notre Dame fan, right? But people were like, see, Notre Dame finally got him. Like, well, I don't know, man. With respect to Stockton, I mean, there's not a lot of reps there,
exactly.
right?
I think that was a big part of it. But then you look at the Big Ten. I mean, you look at Ohio State. They were clearly the best team in the country, I think, of any conference. Mm-hmm. But playing in the SEC, I always rock with the SEC because I respect it. The coaches, the players, everything. But there's tons of great teams now with NIL. I mean, it really doesn't matter, right? So,
but that is one of the really interesting things with the way the NIL is operated, in that someone like Jeremiah Smith, right, at Ohio State, where I think if we were 10 years ago, we're like, man, this is ridiculous. Like, let's let him go earn his money now. Yeah. The NFL contract, whenever he gets there, will be what it is, but he's going to be able to get.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players that will make more in college than they make in the NFL. Like Quinn Ewers. I know he went to the NFL, but they said that if he went back to college, he would get like $6 million in NIL. He won't get $6 million during his entire rookie contract. So, yeah, I mean, certain players, it is absolutely better for them to be in college than the pros.
Somewhat of his worthwhile at Ohio State, and that's a great change.
He's going to be making a ton these next 2 years.
Yeah.
In college, I'm thinking of guys like Dylan Stewart as well at South Carolina, the DN. He's going to be making a ton as well.
Yeah.
It's another guy that could probably step in and play sooner than he has to. But, there's no need to rush to the NFL now for guys coming out of college. Get your education, get paid, and build a legacy.
Yeah. For you, again, kind of going from the backup position to the starting position, was there any of the wide receivers, because you had so many different guys, right, the ins and outs, the injuries, that you started to really find a connection with and find that groove with, where you're hoping to grow on that from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah. Like you said, it was a lot of different in and outs from receivers, tight, and we were banged up, I think,
I mean, Spencer's first game was Bub Means and Mason Tipton. Was 1 and 2, not just on the field. They were the 1 and the 2.
Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson.
Damn it, I was going to say Foster. Towards the end of the year, Foster really came on. I thought they should have got the tight ends way more involved in the passing game. Foster was fantastic towards the end of the game, or end of the season, and even during that time, we had to move heaven and earth to get Foster 2 or 3 catches. He should have been getting a ton of targets.
Those were 2 guys that I really connected with a lot. On and off the field, and we had some good production. Kevin Austin, another guy who was not too many people knew about him, but he made plays, throughout the year. And then, MVS, I thought, was great for us, and, wanted to get these guys the ball more and spread it around, and they know that. But, yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of those guys we had a good connection with and could have even been better.
Yeah, and I think those things will come with time. Playing with Kamara for you, was that different of a running back who I think when people talk about his talent, they start by talking about what he can do in the receiving game, and then trying to find ways to get him his touches in a different capacity than you think about getting a running back to football. You like this, right?
Yeah.
You kind of screen game, different things like that.
Yeah.
Alvin was another one that was banged up. Spencer didn't get the full version of Alvin Kamara either. It's like that just is another example of how injuries straight up derailed this season and this team.
No, he's a guy that can do everything on the football field you ask him to do. A ton of respect. He's one of our leaders on our team, one of our captains, and being able to be out there on the field with him, it's almost like a safety blanket, you feel like, in that backfield. He knows his protections. He catches the ball very well, and obviously you see how he can run the ball. I wish I could have played with him more. It'd be awesome to play with him more here in the future.
Yeah. I'll ask you this, Spencer, and then we'll let you get out of here. Appreciate you joining us on Sports Grid. your team did play both Kansas City and Philadelphia, so you have some familiarity.
It's crazy when you think about the Saints team. Like, think about the season in totality, and think about how bad the Saints were, how banged up they were. Could have easily beat Philadelphia. Should have beat Philadelphia to go 3-0. Okay? Should have beat Philly. Should have beat the Commanders, who, like, I mean, I'm not going to say the two best teams in the NFC, but way up there. Could have beat the Rams. Got absolutely dog-walked against the Chiefs, no doubt about that. But it's crazy how good the Saints were at times, and how even when they were bad, like obviously Carolina and Dallas to start the season, they were insane. But even when they were bad, like when they played the Commanders, they are a play away from beating the Commanders. Jaden Daniels. I mean, it was such a crazy season.
Kind of with that, and then going into the prep. Any expectations for the game on Sunday? Do you feel maybe you're leaning one way in terms of who will win it?
You know, it's going to be hard to go against the Chiefs and what they've been able to do. You know, getting to watch Mahomes and Kelsey and that defense when we played them was pretty impressive. But the Eagles, at the same time, they probably got the best roster, I'd say, in the NFL. It's really a toss-up for me. If the Eagles, Jalen and Saquon come out there and do their thing, and that defense plays at a high level, they'll make it tough, but it's hard to bet against Mahomes.
Yeah, I think that's it's well said. It's Spencer Rattler, New Orleans Saints quarterback. Best of luck heading into year 2, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yep.
That's a handshake right there, son. I love Spencer Rattler, no doubt about it. And I do think Kellen Moore is good for him, obviously. You get a quarterback guy, you get an offensive coach, you get something new, whatever. It's very difficult to go from system to system to system to system, all that change, all that transition. So hopefully, if Kellen Moore is the head coach, hopefully he sticks. Hopefully that system sticks, and hopefully, you know, they'll be able to build on that. And the question is it Rattler or Carr? And I mean, what is that? You know, like, or is it someone else, or is it, you know, they draft somebody, or there's a different decision? I've heard some wrinkles, like not wrinkles, but I had questions about like Darnold possibly being a guy or something like that. I don't think any of that makes sense, but you know, if it's Carr, I think the only danger for Rattler would be getting lost in the mix. The only danger for Rattler would be if Derek Carr is back, Derek Carr starts. That inherently isn't bad for Rattler to develop and get another year and whatever. What would be bad is if Carr comes back, Carr starts, Rattler doesn't, and then after Carr, they move in a different direction. And they draft somebody or whatever, and Rattler gets lost in the shuffle. That's always the danger when you have new coaches who don't draft players and the players are not their guys. You wonder what their vision is. So, you know, Kellen Moore, I'm sure, did not watch every Saints game. I'm sure did not watch every rep of Spencer Rattler like we did. I'm sure he's not as in tune with what Rattler did, at least not yet. So just looking at it from the outside in, you might not be, you know, it might not be one of those things where it's like, okay, we got to go with this guy. You know, so it'll be interesting. Now on that same token, if Moore does go with Rattler, I think it speaks volumes to Spencer's physical abilities and what he can do, how he throws the football, how he can process, how he can move in the pocket, how he can run around a little bit. Because that's, if Moore goes with him, that's like 90% of why he's going with him. It's like, man, there's a lot here. There's a lot I can mold. There's a lot I can utilize. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Rattler. If it is Moore, I mean, it's crazy what's going on with the Saints. I mean, you're talking about, I'm filming this on a Saturday, early on a Saturday. In the next 48 hours, or 72 hours, we should know our new head coach, and then we can start talking what that head coach is going to do, who's his staff going to be, what's the roster going to look like. We could potentially be moving towards a Derek Carr release or a trade or whatever. We got the draft. There's just a ton happening for the Saints this offseason. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, making it through all the different, on demand. Thank you for making it through the sun. I appreciate that, and I will see you in the next video.